Summary of LangChain Experimental Autonomous Agents AutoGPT Output Parser AutoGPT Action NaN. AutoGPT Action is a class that represents an action that an AutoGPT can take. It encapsulates the details of a specific task that the AutoGPT is asked to perform, including the name of the action, the function to execute it, the arguments to pass to the function, and the parser responsible for interpreting the output of the action. This class provides a standardized structure for actions within the AutoGPT system. Component 1. The action name is a descriptive identifier for the action being performed. It is used to label and track the action throughout its life cycle. For example, an action name could be search web or generate code. Component 2. The action func is a Python function that embodies the actual logic of the action. It receives the specified arguments and performs the desired task. For instance, the search web action might use a web search API like Google Search to retrieve information. Component 3. The action args are a set of parameters passed to the action func to control its execution. They provide specific instructions for the action. For example, in a generate code action, the action args could specify the desired programming language, the code snippet to generate, or the intended purpose of the code. Component 4. The output parser is a component responsible for interpreting the output of the action func. It transforms the raw output into a format that is suitable for the AutoGPT system to understand and use. The output parser can standardize formats, extract key information, and potentially perform further processing on the output before it is passed to the AutoGPT. The AutoGPT Action output parser is designed to ensure consistent and standardized output formats across various actions. The parser typically receives the raw output from the action func and then applies predefined rules and procedures to transform it into a structured format. This architecture facilitates efficient processing and interpretation of action results by the AutoGPT system. The output parser's role is to bridge the gap between the raw output of the action func and the needs of the AutoGPT. It acts as a translator, converting the diverse outputs from different action functions into a uniform representation that is readily understood and utilized by the AutoGPT system. This standardization ensures that the AutoGPT can effectively process and analyze the results of actions regardless of the specific action's implementation details. Standardizes output format. The output parser ensures that all action outputs adhere to a predefined format, regardless of the action func's internal implementation. This consistency simplifies subsequent processing and analysis by the AutoGPT system. For example, the parser might ensure that all search results are presented in a consistent format, regardless of the specific search engine or API used to retrieve them. Simplifies action execution. The output parser can handle the complexities of parsing raw output, allowing the action func to focus solely on executing the desired task. This separation of concerns improves the readability and maintainability of the code by simplifying the action func's responsibilities. For instance, the output parser could take care of parsing raw HTML code from a web page, allowing the search web action to simply retrieve the HTML and pass it to the parser without dealing with the complexities of HTML parsing. Handling complex outputs. The parser needs to be flexible enough to handle a wide range of output formats from different action functions. It might encounter outputs with varying levels of complexity, including nested structures, multiple data types, or dynamic elements. The parser should be capable of parsing and extracting relevant information from these complex outputs to provide the AutoGPT system with the required data. For example, a generate code action might produce code with various language constructs, nested functions, and variable declarations. The parser should be able to extract the essential information from the generated code, such as the code's language, its purpose, and key variables, to allow the AutoGPT to understand and utilize the generated code. Maintaining compatibility with different action functions. The output parser must be adaptable to changes in the output formats produced by different action functions. As new actions are added to the system, the parser needs to be updated to handle the new output formats effectively. This requires a robust and extensible architecture that can accommodate evolving action implementations. For example, if a new action is implemented to interact with a specific application programming interface API, the parser must be updated to understand and interpret the output format of that API.